Section 9.1, Estimating a Population Proportion. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to construct and interpret a confidence interval for the population proportion. And number 2, determine the sample size necessary for estimating the population proportion P with a specified margin of error. Now, in chapters 1 through 7 laid the groundwork for the remainder of the course. These chapters dealt with data collection, chapter 1, descriptive statistics, chapters 2 through 4, and probability, chapters 5 through 7. Now, chapter 8 formed a bridge between probability and statistical inference by giving us models that can be used to make probability statements about the sample mean and sample proportion. We now discuss inferential statistics, the process of generalizing information obtained from a sample to a population. We will study two areas of inferential statistics. Number 1, estimation. Sample data are used to estimate the value of unknown parameters such as the population mean or the population proportion. Number 2, hypothesis testing. Statements regarding a characteristic of one or more populations are tested using sample data. In this chapter, we discuss estimation of an unknown parameter. In the next chapter, we discuss hypothesis testing. So for objective 1, what we want to do is we want to be able to obtain a point estimate for the population proportion. Now suppose we want to estimate the proportion of adult Americans who believe that the amount they pay in federal income taxes is fair. It is unreasonable to expect that we could survey every adult American. Instead, we use a sample of adult Americans to arrive at an estimate of the proportion. We call this estimate a point estimate. A point estimate is the value of a statistic that estimates the value of a parameter. So for example, the point estimate for the population proportion is the following. We have p hat, which is equal to x divided by n, where x is the number of individuals in the sample with a specified characteristic and n is the sample size. So let's take a look at an example here. Obtaining a point estimate of a population proportion. The Gallup organization conducted a poll in April 2017 in which a simple random sample of 1,019 Americans aged 18 and older were asked, do you regard the income tax that you will have to pay this year as fair? Of the 1,019 adult Americans surveyed, 620 said yes. We want to be able to obtain a point estimate for the proportion of Americans aged 18 and older who believe that the amount of income tax they pay is fair. So the first thing we need to do is we need to use the formula, which is the point estimate, which is taking x over n. So in our problem, we know that x is going to represent the specific characteristic, and that characteristic is where x is equal to 620, and that's who said yes, and that's going to be in our numerator. And then the value of n represents the sample size. In this case, it's 1,019 Americans that were aged 18 or older, so therefore n is going to equal 1,019. So now when we take this number 620 and divide it by 1019, we get 0.6084396. And then we're going to round it to approximately 3 decimal places. So therefore, we round it to 0.608, which then becomes 60.8%. So therefore, we would estimate that 60.8% of Americans aged 18 and older believe that the amount of income tax they pay is fair.